What's up, everyone? Oh, okay. Today we are going to. What's up, Efren? How you doing today? Today is going to be just pretty much project review day. So, um, I do not have that many. Hold on one second. Let me try and clean this. Oof, there's a lot of dust in there. There we go. Doing good. That's awesome. Good is better than bad, right? What's up, Angel? How was Mexico? How was your trip? These are doubled. Let me see here. Are they not? Okay, maybe they're not. You got your PC and it's nice. Awesome. Did you set it all up and everything, Efren? Is it pretty powerful? That's awesome. I'm happy you had a great time. You get to see all your family. That's always good. You know, especially if you don't get to see all your family all the time. Or if you have a big family and you get to see a lot of cousins and stuff you haven't seen in a really long time. I just did my ancestry.com and I have 90 million cousins hanging out around. Yeah. That's fine. If you guys want to, today is like I said, today we're going to be going over we're going to be going over the rest of the typography projects. And if we have time, I'll start going over the real and surreal projects that are turned in. Angel, I sent out an announcement the other day that I think you should read about the new rule that I have or the new date range that I have for projects and stuff. So I think that will be beneficial to you. Um, and then we'll work out anything if you have any questions or anything. I know you just got back, so you're probably getting your grounds with stuff, but we'll work that all out. But yeah, today's gonna be like a project review. So if you guys have your typography project or your real and surreal project that you want me to go over, first or something. Hey Jasmine, we're gonna start with the typography projects and then go through all the rest of those. So if you're in the chat and like I said, you want me to go through those first so that you can just kind of watch and then head out, you can do that. You're more than welcome to. Today's not going to be, we're just kind of playing catch up on all of this stuff, and then it gives you guys a little bit of extra time to get your projects done. And then next week we are going to be starting the motion design, the principles of motion design in Cinema 4D. And so, uh, yeah, today's kind of like an optional day for you. Actually, Efren's is right down here. I can go over yours, dude. Let's see here. Eric's in the chat. Jasmine's in the chat. Efren said, it's all set up and it's pretty powerful, although I'm ready planning upgrades. That's what'll get you. Oh, wow, you haven't seen your grandparents in 2 years? I bet it was really nice seeing them. You're sick too? That I'm not also surprised by. So go, you can rest up if you need to, Angel. I've been trying to do everything as much as I can, but you're struggling with Maxon. Mel's here. What's up, Mel? Jasmine, what are you struggling with in Maxon? Let me know there, and then we'll see if we can try and figure that out. All right, let me go to, let's do, one second here. Let me pull this up. You're still struggling with your license, Jasmine? Have they not reached out to you? Did you give me your information for... I thought I gave a bunch of information to Casey he passed it on to the reps. I know he did for sure. Yeah, I have yours on there. Has the rep the rep hasn't contacted you back, Jasmine? Oh, well, we reached out to the representative at Maxon that we work with. What's up, Jose? That's okay. And gave them everyone's information who was having trouble with Cinema 4D. Okay, Jasmine, why don't you send me a message? Let's see here. Did we already try and do that? I can't remember. Yeah, we jumped on to... Guys, sorry, I'm just reading a couple things. We're going to figure this out afterwards. Hold on. That's okay, no worries, guys. All right, so let's we're gonna start with Efren's. text one because he's in the chat. All right. Cool. All right, guys, let's go ahead. Zoom out here. Let me play a little music for you guys today. Hey Mel, actually I'll go over yours too next. Because yours is also in here too, right? Your typography project? Oh, the sun's like sleeping. There we go. Something a little bit more interesting. Just gonna drop the volume down here. Sweet. One sec. Okay, cool. And then of course my one program is no longer working for me, whatever. You know how things go. I have to do some adjustments to some things tomorrow. Reconnect some stuff. Okay, so right off the bat, a nice, very soothing looking red, I guess. Let's go ahead and play. Ooh, good job on that, Efren. Ooh, yeah, really nice. I remember we went over part of this, I think, last time, didn't we, Efren? I think we talked about it. It's not the Walter White version. No, this is the second one I think that you turned in for me, so. But let's go over this. First of all, it looks really nice as far as the hierarchy goes in the text weight, and then also choosing to do like a lowercase writing up here looks really nice. Everything's very aligned on the. Let's see. Let's kind of fit this to the screen. Everything's very aligned as far as like where it settles in. So the alignment on this is really good. In fact, everything about this looks really nice. The easing of all three of the words is pretty spot on right there. And you have the motion blur in there as well. So it looks really, really good. The word fade, this looks really nice. I see that I think we already talked about this, but I think you updated it here to where the type is now unlined with the top of the word and the bottom here, which looks really, really good as well. And the fade animation is appropriate that you have on here. The only thing that I would do here is allow this to stay on after the animation finishes with the letters. I would allow it to stay on for another 2 seconds and then fade it out until the next one. Just because we want to have a little bit of extra time to read those 2 sentences right there that are actually animating on. Because we have time, obviously, to read the word fade when it comes on and see the animation that happens there. But the animation that plays out on the sentences, it occurs and then it fades off right away after that. And so we just want a little bit of a buffer of time afterwards, after those sentence animations finish, in order to really get a good grasp on what we're looking at as far as like what the sentence says. This looks really nice. I know that you said that you changed that on purpose. That looks good. This looks really, really nice. You've got a good, you've got like a hard light, I think above actually, or like, I can't tell where the light source is like. Yeah, it must be right above because you've got your shadows coming off here. Let me put my thing on. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Um, and if I'm going to, I definitely don't want to do it with my mic on. So I'm trying to figure that out for a second. But it looks like the light source is coming from the top to the bottom because and it's like directly centered. And that's why we're getting these like harder shadows over here. So I would just maybe you can soften the shadows specifically in that light so they're not such hard shadows on the ground, because I think this really looks nice, especially because you have another light coming from up above and over from the side, like the back. You have another light over there, which is casting these really nice soft shadows on the back of your what is this called? The backdrop here. I'm also looking at a couple other things. I would probably add in, you could even add in another light from this, like pointing in this direction onto here as well, to fill in the front face essentially of your text right here, because it's really dark and black. And I don't know if that has to do with the material that you actually picked for this one, but if you throw in an extra light in the front there, it might fill in the Walter White version is my better work. I agree. But this is appropriate for just for now. But yes, I do like the Walter White stuff. But I think that throwing a light in over here will just do a little bit more for this material. And if you're still getting really black front to the material, then maybe consider playing around in the settings of the material or picking a different material just so we can see the front, like any kind of textures that are happening in the front a little bit better. But it looks really good right off the bat. And the camera motion, as far as this goes, you could even slow it down a little bit if you want to. Not too much work that you have to do here, but really just my biggest thing would be adding that extra light back here, softening the shadows of this above light that's going on, and then seeing if it's the material itself or if it just needed an extra light in order to like kind of brighten up the front of the text, because we're getting a lot of really cool stuff happening around, like from the reflections. We're seeing this really pretty color, like this really nice bronzy color that's happening on the side, and I would love to see it on the front of the text. So yeah, that's what I would change on that. And then this one's pretty cool. I think that now, you guys, this part right here where it just cuts off, I would fix that so you don't just have a bunch of red at the end. So what happens here is your layers are short. So like if it were this, my layer is cut off and shorter than the rest of the competition or composition, and so it would be like this, and it would just not show up the rest of the way. So just extend those layers on there so that we can see it all the way to the end. And then if you want to add some more, now that we've gotten a little bit like a couple extra weeks of animation under our belt, maybe you can try to add in a little bit more, because this is revealing here. Let's see what's happening. Ah, I see what you did. You faded on. So there's a different way that we can do that. That is going to be something that we kind of learned on Thursday's class. And it's masking. So let me set up, where's this radio waves comp that we did for Logan? Which is really cool, by the way. We figured this out. Let me go ahead and just kind of hide this. And we're going to create a new text layer. So today's really going to kind of just be tutorials on here. Let's spell your alter ego name. Walter White. Walter White. Okay, let's center this. Control double click that, and let's align it to our, right here. All right, so essentially what you're doing is you're wanting this box that you have here, which is a shape layer, or I'm assuming this is actually an adjustment layer. So this might work a little bit better as a shape layer. I don't know if with the adjustment layer you can, because adjustment layers don't have points, right? There's no path that's there. So this is going to be a little bit of a different technique of an update on this, but I think that it'll work better for you. So instead of an adjustment layer, you're going to want to come in here and create a new shape layer. So I am going to create like a rectangle over this. And let's best practices. Rectangle mask, right? In fact, what I like to do, we're going to name it rectangle because we're going to need 2 instances of this. And so not only do we want the shape to reveal the name, right, but we also want it to reveal maybe a color underneath it. So the first shape layer that you're going to want is going to be underneath the actual text itself. And that's going to be like the main color of the text that you want it to show up. I'm going to shut off my title action save since the text is already centered. And that way we can just see like what's going on here, right? So we've got your shape layer underneath. That's a color that you want it to reveal. We've got the name that you want it on there. Let's duplicate this shape layer here, hitting Control D, and we're going to drag this one on top. So let me change the layer color so you guys can see them a little bit better too. Pink and indigo. Those will work. And then this one will be dark green, purple, I guess. Okay. For the letters fading in, I think I just faded then in by letter D. Yeah. Let's do it this way though. This way is going to be a lot cooler. And it's actually going to reveal, it's going to be like a slide that's going to reveal your text versus before you're like trying to time it up. Because if I pause right here, I can see that it's not like perfectly aligned. And let's have the shape actually reveal that text. I think it'll be cooler this way. And this is great for all of you guys to know. So we've got the first rectangle on the bottom, we've got your name, and then this one up on the top that we just created. I'm going to rename this one Mask, M-A-S-K. And the first thing that I want to do is go down here and under the contents of this mask, you're going to want to select the go all the way down into your contents until you get to the rectangle path. Okay, you guys. So, and I talked about this a little bit on Tuesday's class, but when you create a shape inside of After Effects, it creates it like an entire object that is kind of locked together. And so you don't have the ability to just grab the vertices of that shape. You have to convert that shape to a Bezier path in order to be able to grab a hold of those vertexes and like make those changes, right? That's what we're doing for the bouncing ball for this week's motion design project. Well, that is what we did on Tuesday. And so we're going to do essentially the same thing here. So you want to go all the way down into this rectangle until you get to this rectangle path here. And you're going to right click and you'll know that you're in the rectangle path because you're going to see these little buttons right next to it, which allow you to kind of, it allows you to reverse the path direction. So if you guys ever wanted to know how to do that, you can just come down here into the rectangle path or object, whatever shape you're using, right? And you can change direction there. But we're not doing that for now, just like a side note. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to right click and hit convert to Bezier path. And then all of a sudden, you're going to see that it now no longer says rectangle path here. It just says path. And when I click on this, you're going to notice when I look up here, I'm going to be able to grab onto these little vertices and make any changes to them that I want. The cool thing is that this is keyframeable, right? There's a stopwatch by it, so we can keyframe the changes to the path. So we're going to work backwards here because we don't want this initial shape of the path to lose. We don't want to lose the integrity of the shape the way it is right now. And so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to move my playhead forward to about 1 second, and I'm going to keyframe this path animation, the path for the mask, right? And then I'm going to move all the way back here, and I am going to select I'm going to drag my selection tool over this side of the vertices. So I select these 2 corner vertices, and then making sure that my playhead is at the beginning of my timeline, I'm going to click and drag these over. And then once I start to move it, right, I clicked and started to drag. After I've got a hold of this, if I hold down shift, it's going to lock that into place and allow me to move it back, right? And so let's change the color of the bottom rectangle just so we can see kind of more of what's going on. We'll just change it to a darker colored green. There we go. And so now when I scrub through this animation on my timeline, you can see that one edge of it is going for, it starts at one side and then goes to the other. Okay, this is great, right? It's a shape right now. Let's turn this into a mask so it actually reveals everything below. And let me do this so you guys can kind of see. Let's scale this base rectangle here. So that you guys can see kind of what that mask is doing. So I'm going to lock this. And now, you know, obviously there's a couple different ways to create masks. You could also have selected your text here and grabbed your shape tool, and you could have drawn a mask like this. And so you can do it this way as well. If you create a mask this way, let's go ahead and let me redo that for you so you guys can see. So pretending like this mask that we just created doesn't exist. And I select my text here. And if I go up to my shape tool, and if I look here, if this little object is selected when I grab my shape tool, that means that I've got a layer selected in my timeline, and now this is like a masking mode, right? And so when I click and drag and start to draw, you can see that that mask goes over the text. And so you can also animate the path of a mask. You just have to drop down these mask options. If you don't see the mask options on your keyboard here, like if it's all furled up when you create it, all you have to do is hit M for mask on your keyboard, and it'll bring this up. And then you can just kind of drop this down and see your mask path there. And you can also do the same thing. So if I wanted to animate this one, I could do this and holding down, grabbing that, selecting both, holding down shift and going like this. And so now what's happening is this mask that is on my text layer directly is animating like this, right? So it's revealing that text, but I not only want to reveal the text, right? But I want to reveal this rectangle color underneath. That was the reason that I went for this initial technique of creating a shape layer that we're going to turn into a mask, because when you're only wanting to mask out one object, right, creating a mask on the object directly could be beneficial in that sense, right? But I'm wanting to mask more than one layer. And so if you're going to want to do more than one layer, it's smarter to just create a shape that's going to mask them all out at the same time. And so that way you don't have a bunch of keyframes on separate layers. You're not having to copy one mask to the next layer and so on and so forth. You just have essentially one overarching layer that is controlling the masking versus this, which is just for one thing, right? So I'm going to delete this mask off of the text. But real quick, the cool thing about this, right, is that you can adjust the feathering of this mask so that it gives you a nice smooth looking gradient there. If I didn't want this to go beyond the bounds of the mask, because what's happening right now is that feathering is allowing these pixels on the outside of the mask to show. But if I didn't want that, if I just drop this expansion backwards here a little bit, then that will allow me. Notice if I go too far, it's going to start to bring those bounds in a little bit more, which we don't want. So you're going to want to just kind of, you play around with this and then maybe the feather amount until you get something that looks a little bit more of what you're looking for. You can change the opacity of the mask if you want to. So playing around with this is very valuable. You can invert this mask so it shows everything on the outside. So if you wanted it to like maybe hide up your text, you could do it this way too. So there's just different kinds of things that you can do there. I'm going to delete this mask off of here though, and I'm going to show you how to kind of mask the multiple layers, right? So we want this mask shape that we've created to reveal this green background underneath and your name. And we've already created the animation here, right? So the animation goes from one side to the other. Obviously you would want to ease that animation. But if you guys look down here, we have this thing called track mat. If that is not in your, if you don't see this track mat option right here in your timeline, you can go, if you go down here at the bottom and you make sure this is turned on, you will see that option show up there. I believe it's that one. Let me click off and click on. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you need to turn that on, just click this one with these little shapes down at the bottom there, and you'll be able to turn that track mat option on. And so what I want to do now is I'm going to select both of these layers that I want to be revealed by that mask, and I'm going to select the drop-down menu of the track mat here, and I'm going to select mask. And so now all of a sudden everything went away, and that's okay because that's what we want, right? We want that mask, that path animation of that rectangle mask that we create to reveal this. So now if I play, it's revealing the entire thing. Of those, it's revealing those two layers that I essentially like linked to it below. My internet is being unstable. I'll watch the video later, but if that's, yeah, not a problem. All right, buddy. We'll see you later. Ephraim, really good job on this, though. I'll put your grade in right now. And then I'm going to say, what is today? The 29th? Oh, it's leap year, right? It's a leap year? Is there normally only 28 days in February? Cool. I'll submit this to you right now. But yeah, so just kind of like a couple different options you guys have there to mask things out. I think this is going to get you very far in animation, is learning to kind of hide and reveal things as needed. And so the cool thing, right, is that this mask, like if I didn't want it to be that, if I wanted it to just be, let's say I wanted it to be a circle that kind of moves around everything. If I create another object here that's like a circle, and I animate the position of this circle just kind of all around, all over the place, right? Like maybe it starts, first of all, let's change the name here to circle mask. And let's center the anchor point there. I'm going to hit V. We'll move this up. Like, let's think of this like a spotlight or something, right? So, we'll animate the position there. We're going to move forward. Maybe that's going to kind of come over here. It's going to move forward. It'll go... Maybe it's going to go, let's grab this circle mask here. Maybe it's going to go back here. Like it's like, oh, I found Walter White, right? Like if we're looking for Walter White. So it's like, oh, I found him. Found him right there. Like if this were a picture of Walter White, this would work really well. I'm going to delete this initial mask that we created there. And then I am going to... take these two layers, that the text and the background layer, right? And I'm going to go to the track matte section and drop down menu and select circle mask. And so now that animation is happening where I can see that there, and I'm like, oh, found him, Walter White, he's in trouble. The other cool thing that you can do, right, is you can duplicate this mask, and then I can name this circle, maybe circle shape. And if I just, this is going to have the same position properties, right, because I just copied it. But what if I want this circle shape to kind of highlight his name? I could turn this on right there. I could even shut off my keyframes and just link this layer, parent this layer. I'm kind of giving you precursors to our parenting lesson. But if you take this little pick whip here and you drag it to the circle mask layer, now this circle shape is going to follow wherever that mask goes. But I'm going to change the mode of the layer. So instead of normal, I'm going to go to screen here. And so now it changes. It's like, found you, right? So let's say that I had this duplicated. I duplicate the name and the background here and drop it below both of the original name and background. Let's go ahead and change the colors of these so I can see them separately. Let's change this to blue. There we go. And let's just hide these two layers here so we don't have to see them or focus on them. So these ones I want to show up like normal. Let's say like our object, I'm going to select no matte for these, right? And let's say that this background rectangle, like think of like the name Walter White as like he's like hiding against a dark wall or something, right? So that's what we're kind of giving the illusion to right here. And so I'm going to darken the background, and then I'm actually going to darken the text quite a bit so that it looks like they're blending in, right? So kind of hard to see. And so now when this circle shape moves over here, in fact, we don't even have to have this on here now. If I could just delete this, and now this circle shape looks like a flashlight that's like pointing at something and found it, right? So I would obviously mess around with the path of the animation itself and easing of things, right? But now I'd be like, oh, found it there. I found him. I could copy this. Oh, copy and paste that keyframe there so it stays here for a second. And then maybe be like, found Walter White. Now I'm going to go all the way over. Found his whole name, right? So now the flashlight comes down. Found him. There he is. Right? So it's like this flashlighting effect that you can have. So masking is really a powerful tool inside of After Effects that you can use to get all these different, yeah, there will be another 4 years. There will be another in 4 years. Yeah. This is just a really neat effect that I think will be valuable for you guys when it comes to this. So I think that you all now that you've had a little bit more understanding of how to use different things in After Effects can use some of these techniques to make your custom contact information a little bit stronger. But really good first start there. Let's go ahead and delete you there so that... And I know that Mel is in the chat, right, Mel? You still there? Let's bring yours up. Cool. Nope, don't do that. There we go. Let's watch Mel's. I'm gonna hit play here. Interesting there. Cool. Hey, Mel, are you having trouble with the size of this? Okay, let's see. Cool. What's up, Mel? This isn't yours. This is Isaac's. Yours, which I think I already went through, right? No, that is not yours. Yours is... There. Right, no, that's angels. Right there. Here we go. Yeah, I just had to, because like it like gives me them, so when I download them, it's not just what you guys write here. It's always like last name and then first name, and it's just a pain. But I got you. I found you. Let's go over yours, Mel. Cool. First of all, love the pink. I've been like super into pink lately, which is not my thing normally. So obviously you guys can see I wear a ton of black. It's like 90% of my wardrobe is like black. Although I do like pink. My shark here, he's like a chrome shark. And because we did blue on the shark, you know, my artist was like, I don't know what color waves we should do. And I was like, let's do pink. I have no pink in any of my tattoos. And so we did, and it like turned out really awesome. All right, let's go ahead and play here. Ooh, that looks nice. Good job right away, initially, right off the bat, Mel. Beautiful. That looks great. Ooh, utilizing the glass. The glass looks classy. Oh, cool. Ooh, Mel. Ooh, oh, I love it. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Gosh, your guys' creative ones are really awesome. So let's break this down, okay? First of all, way to go, Mel. Really, really good right away. Put your... One second here. Let me do this. Oh, come on. I just want to put in a grade for you. Just a real quick comment. All right, first of all, alignment on everything looks flawless. Like, I really don't think that anything is misaligned at all. Really good job on the hierarchy of this as well. I think that these might have been like the first ones that I did, but this looks really nice. You've got the motion blur in there. All of the easing on this one is really solid. I don't have any changes on that. First of all, the way the fade moves off is really, really smooth. It looks really good. You have a lot of breathing room in between your sentences here and the actual letters of the word fade, which is really nice. A lot of students tend to kind of push this over, and it's nice to see it kind of centered in between there. As far as the actual animations go, they're animated not properly, aligned perfectly by the top and the bottom there. And it's nice because it stays on screen a little bit longer. We get a second to read that. Really good there. This looks really nice as well. Smooth. I would just add motion blur to this. I think that's the only thing that I would add to this one here. But that looks really nice, and you've like lined that up perfectly. And you gave a nice amount of a buffer right here between your name and like the rest of your information. Learning to kind of see the negative space on compositions, it takes a little bit of time. Some students are further along with that than others. But the negative space, right, in design is the things that aren't there also create shapes. So if you're looking at like a picture with a person in it, you see the person, which is the main shape, but all the stuff around them, all that blank area around them too, is also part of the composition that's called your negative space. And that's the space that maybe nothing is at, but also creates, like, it plays off of each other, right? The negative and positive space of a composition plays off of each other to create an entire image. And that negative space also has to be paid attention to in order to create an image that's very balanced, right? And so I think you do a really good job at that. When I'm noticing, like, overall your spacing is really good. The colors are really nice on here too. This, I'm super into this really soft pink looking. Did you use the Redshift render, or did you actually use like a regular, the physical render? Because that looks really nice. And this looks like a Redshift material, because this carpet is like something, it's like a plaster material, and it looks really cool. It looks almost suede like. Let's move this up here. Zoom out of here real quick. This is nice. Yeah, how long did it take you to render it? Was it pretty easy, or did you have any troubles? Because this looks really good. It took 8 hours to render that. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not gonna, so if you do want to do another render, the only thing I would say is to just kind of, lower the brightness of the light, right? I don't think, as far as the animation goes, the animation of it is really nice. So let's play it like this. You don't even have to move the camera that far if you don't even want to. It could be even like half that rotation. But yeah, it looks stellar. That's why. If you do go to re-render it again, what I would do is I would take this light that's here and I would drop down the intensity of the light so it's not so bright and like you're not getting such a hot spot in this section. And then maybe I'd throw in one more light to kind of fill in these corners right there, because when you move to this side too, you get a lot of really dark shadows, and so I think just a couple lights to maybe fill in that section would be nice. You can also just change the expansion of the light so the area that it covers is a little bit higher. You also maybe have the light above, which I know I did in class, which you could drop the intensity down, and maybe that will drop that like hot spot right there. And maybe this would be good because that's like such a small change. You could also possibly just bring this in like this. So if you want to mess around with your PNG sequence, let's see if I have... Do I have my PNG sequence in here? Let's see if we can import it. We did this. Okay, let's import my PNG sequence as a sequence. Footage, import, perfect. Okay, let's bring that down in here. Actually, let's bring that into like our testing. I'm gonna close these out. Open this one. Hide these. Because we already know what these are, right? Let's turn on the mask. Let's hide these so that I just don't see them at all. Oh, come on. You're gonna make me click every one? It's dumb. All right, I'm gonna drag my PNG sequence down in here so you guys can see it. Right, and let's see if we can maybe adjust it with a little bit of effects, like photo editing effects here inside of After Effects, right? Because it is an effect program. So I'm gonna come over here, and then the first thing I'm gonna type in is probably my levels. Under color correction. If you want to look for other things, you can do, if you go under color correction here, if you just open your effects and presets, there's like a folder that says color correction that you can drop things down, and you can see like these different options. We can do brightness and contrast. Let's drop that onto there. And maybe we drop the brightness down a little bit. Right? So it kind of lowers that hotspot. And this way it kind of avoids you from having to re-render everything and take a long time. You can just kind of drag and drop some of these effects onto your PNG sequence. And then it'll just, it's like, you know, after editing of an image, right? And so maybe I'm not going to drop it down that much. Maybe I drop it down -50. But then I can do it this way too, right? Let's say I wanted only this section to brighten up, like your corners and stuff as well, because I probably would have added one to here. Let's say we want that section to be the one that is a little brighter over there. Let's say this wasn't such a hot spot right there. What you can do is you can add an adjustment layer over top of your PNG sequence. So you right click and you go to new and you can do adjustment layer. You can also find this up at the top here under layer, new, and then adjustment layer. And what that is, it's just a blank layer that you can add effects to that's going to affect the entire image here. And so this might be a little bit smarter to work in this way, right? So we had that brightness and contrast there. Let's maybe, let's actually add it back to the image here itself. So the PNG sequence, I selected that layer. I'm going to put that -50 brightness and contrast on this to maybe lower this section down. And then up here, I want to brighten this section up. So I'm actually going to do the opposite here, and I'm going to bring this one up. And it's going to be like, whoa, what the heck is happening here? Well, we're going to use that masking technique right now in order to kind of mask this section out. So I'm just going to grab my adjustment layer here, and then I'm going to grab my pen tool, because the pen tool, you know, you guys can create custom shapes. You can also create custom masks. So when I bring the pen tool and I hover over my composition without even clicking, you're going to notice that there's like a little square next to my little pen tool, and that means I'm in the masking mode, right? You can also see that up here if this part is blue. And I'm just going to kind of draw like a very kind of a mask just over this dark area here, right? Come over here, close my shape. And so notice that that's like, now it's bright over here, and then it kind of cuts that out, right? Because this adjustment layer now has a mask on it, which is only showing this section right here. Well, let's feather this mask out. So I'm going to hit M on my keyboard and then drop down into these mask options here. And let's feather this mask out a little bit so it's like a smoother transition from the one to the other. And then maybe we just drop that brightness and contrast down a little bit. It doesn't have to be so high. Maybe it's just 25 like that. And so now if I click off, it's like this smooth section where I've kind of brightened this area up a little bit more, and not, you know, this whole, not the whole entire image. So if I just turn on and off my mask here, or my adjustment layer, you can kind of see how I've brightened that section up a little bit. And then even this one, I probably wouldn't drop it down, probably bring that to -25 instead of -50, maybe even -35. Let's kind of go in between there. So it kind of drops that hot light down here. And you can add as many adjustment layers and masking options that you want to each of those adjustment layers. You know, adding multiple masks to a layer can get complex, because then you have to mess around with like the inverted and add like the different modes of it to actually get it to work, right? So I could also bring on here, you can bring on here a curves adjustment layer. I'm bringing that onto my adjustment layer over here. So maybe I can just get a little bit more detail and brighten this up a little bit like this to kind of match more of my area. And then just, if you wanted to darken the shadows, you could obviously do that, but we don't want to do that. In fact, let's go, right, because this is your shadow, or this is your highlight section, and then down below is your shadow section. So we want to bring those shadows up when you're using a curves. When you bring something, when you click and drag on the curve, and you bring, if you change the curve to the top, like above where the zone is, or towards the left side, it's going to brighten things. If I drag this down, it's going to make things darker, right? So if you're looking at this, up here is bright, up here is dark, as far as like where you want those values to go. And then in your image itself, these are the highlights and these are the shadows, right? So if I wanted to brighten my shadows, I'd click further down the line and then just bring those up into the brightness there. And then maybe I wanted to bring down my highlights, so I would click up here and bring this down this way. Now notice that you can obviously push this really far. So being subtle is key when it comes to here. In fact, I just want to slightly brighten this a little bit. Not even a lot, right? So if I click off, that looks very, very subtle and really nice, right? You can change the to look at the alpha channel here. So you can change your channel that you're working with and so on and so forth. There's levels over here, so you can mess around with it this way. And I think this might be a little bit of a faster option for you versus doing it all and re-rendering inside of Cinema 4D. You know, this might work. I would try this first, and then afterwards, if it's still not looking very great, because like this is a really dark hotspots or really bright hotspot there. So I would maybe, make your mask come all the way over here and like just that area. Like if I were to draw the mask, I'd probably do it, excuse me, like that. And you could even, like, this doesn't have to be touching the text, right? The mask could be down a little bit further, but where it's bright white, you don't have any pixel information there, so that is not going to change, okay? So just keep those things in mind, right? Because pure black pixels and pure white pixels do not have information in it for you to change. That's why when you take photos, we're doing kind of like a photography lesson right now, but when you take photos and you see like the sky is blown out and you can't fix it, you can't change the contrast or saturation or anything, nothing's looking good, it's because you've taken an overexposed image and you can't come back from that. So when there's like pure white or pure black pixels, there's no information to change in that pixel, and unfortunately it's stuck that way. So learning to like do exposures right away is very important when it comes to photography. And also excuse me, I'm sorry, knowing a little bit about photo editing and stuff and color correction is going to be important when it comes to this class as well. So this is really good though, really good first pass. And then I'm super into this. That is just very cool. A lot of stacking of the animations. So how did you get that color effect to happen on your name up there? Let's do this right here so we can cut this off and just watch this. Really nice here. You've got a scaling and a fading happening. So you're stacking your properties, your animation properties right there. That came down perfect. This looks really nice. A lot of work here because you, I know you separated out objects. So they're, even though they're not like, this is not one solid object. This is a separate object that you animated. It looks like they are moving exactly the same way. Very, very cute. These are really cute. With those stars, let's see, we can animate those stars a little bit. Yeah, let me show you how you can take those stars. Very, very cute. Great easing on that, by the way. Beautiful easing all over, overall on that. Your stars, let's animate the stars with just a real quick wiggle. And so let's say, and this will work with your, because it's a drawn image. I'm going to just make sure that you want to make sure that your anchor point is centered on this. So I created a star object and control double click here to make sure that it's centered. If this were your drawing, it'd work just the same way, right? So, let's change the color here so it looks more like a star. Right there. There we go. I don't remember what the effect was. It's really cool though. I'm into it. This is the only thing I would change on the entire thing, is I would just add animations to the star, and you just do it like this. So we're going to learn our first expression. And what expressions are is they are code that you can attach to keyframes that tell it to do something, whether it's randomizing something or to continuing something. But you get a lot of, it goes a long way, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And so we have your star here, right? Maybe we want that to rotate. But we maybe don't want it to rotate very smooth back and forth. Maybe we want it to kind of look jerky, almost like it's like just a couple frames a second, right? So there's a couple ways we can do that. The first way is I'm going to hit R for rotation, and I'm going to keyframe the rotation. I'm going to move a few frames ahead. I'm going to change this rotation a different way. I'm going to move a few frames ahead, and I'm going to change it back this way a little bit more. I'll move a few frames ahead. Maybe I change it more this way, back down. And so there's kind of like real randomness to this like if I were to play it like that, it doesn't look very great right now. Let me just hit N on my keyboard to shorten this so we can watch it play over and over. Maybe, though, what I want these to do, there's a couple of different things that we can do to make this look kind of like it's blocky, like a blocky animation. So you can select these keyframes and you can right click and select toggle hold keyframes. Remember what those do is it doesn't make the change until it gets to the next keyframe. So now when I play it, it kind of looks almost like that paper animation or like a stop motion animation, right? Which is really cool. But let's say we wanted this to continue throughout the entire timeline because I have this up for however long and I don't want to go here every few frames and continuously having to enter in keyframes, right? Because that's just a waste of our time. We don't want to have to do that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Alt down on my keyboard and click on my rotation property here. It's important to hold down Alt because if you do not do that and you just click on this, it's going to shut off all of your animations and we don't want that, right? So holding down Alt, you click on the stopwatch and then all of a sudden this turns red. And that means that, hey, we've put an expression on this property. Expressions can be added to all sorts of stuff. It doesn't have to just be added to transform properties. Anything that has a stopwatch can have an expression added to it. How well it works, who knows? But right now, we basically want these changes to happen continuously throughout the rest of the timeline. So we want these changes to loop themselves from the very end and then repeat and keep moving on, right? So we want it to go through all 4 of these keyframes. And once it hits this 4th keyframe, we want it to start over again on this first one. And so we're going to use a looping expression. You can either start to type loop and it will show, it usually shows up right at the bottom here. Hold on. You'll get an error if you don't do it right. But you can type loop and you can select loop out right here. Or what you can do is because we want it to loop out. Looping out means after the animation is done. Looping in means it's going to loop until the animation goes and then it's going to stop once that's over. But since we're at the beginning of the timeline, you want to select loop out. So you can just start typing that and then select it, or you can click this little icon right there, kind of like the little playhead, right? Oops, I just accidentally clicked off. And if you select that and you go to, I think it's under property, and then you're just going to go to loop out. And it fills everything in here. You don't have to make any changes to anything like that. You just click off. And then now when I play it, this is going to continuously animate throughout the entire rest of the composition without me having to constantly like change these keyframes. And because their toggle hold keyframes are hold, right? This works really well on this. If these were eased, it might not look as smooth. Like if I were to select these keyframes and change them back to linear keyframes, it's going to look really chaotic, right? So making sure before you add any kind of expression onto your, like any looping expression onto your animation, you want to make sure that you have everything eased appropriately. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back and just hit Control Z to undo that and go back to these. The cool thing, right, is that if I change any of these, like maybe I change that one, move that one forward, I want to adjust the timing, I can do that and it will adjust the loop moving forward too. So that's expressions are very, very powerful. This is a very basic expression to learn, but I think that it's a really useful one, and it will go a long way for you guys. And so I think this would be really beneficial on these little stars, because I'd love to just see them with a subtle rotation animation on there. I think it would look very, very cute. Really solid start to this though. All right. That was this one. I'm going to delete that. Got your green in there. Really good job, Mel. All right. Let's see. Alexandria. Anyone else in the chat? I also have a question about the timing. Okay, yeah. What was your question? I just dumped water on myself. No, I think your personal timing on it is really good, because it takes a minute, but you're giving room for the animation to play, which is more important. I think that's a priority when it comes to animation, right? Is giving everything time to play out, and not rushing your animation. So if we watch that again, let me go find you right here. And we watch this section again. So it's about 10 seconds long. I don't think that it is at all. I think that I can understand why you're thinking that, because it takes a while to get to here. It gets like 8 seconds before everything's settled, right? But you have everything happening kind of overlapping a little bit, like one right after the other, right? So if you want to tighten that up, you could overlap it after here. Like right after this comes in, you could have the stars and the stars and the little character animate in at the same time. So then that cuts that timing down a little bit, and then they're on screen for a little bit longer. If anything, you could shorten these. I mean, like shorten the timing of this, but I think that maybe this could happen a little bit faster. Like like you could bring in your name a little bit quicker with the opacity at the very beginning. I think I would just make this a little bit quicker. In this part too. But that's it, because you have enough stuff happening in it that it's, it's like eye candy. So you want to watch it a little bit longer. I didn't even really notice the timing as much. Because I liked what I was seeing, and I kind of wanted to see it more at the end, actually. So if you want to leave it on there up a second longer at the end, so you can see like those little stars animating and stuff, that would be cute. I think overall, though, you did a good job. If you do want to adjust the timing, you can adjust some of it, but I think that everything's like very smooth the way it happens. All right, let's go. Yeah, not a problem. Of course, you did a really good job. All right, Alexandria. This is cool. A really bright, shiny texture here. But you have a really nice, smooth camera movement that's happening. I really like that. Ooh, nice. I like the yellow. Especially right now. Good job. That looks great. Cool. Yeah, the yellow and blue look great. Although those are University of Michigan colors, and not a big fan of it. Ooh, bouncy text. Ooh, cool. Had some more fun with that there. So this one, I think this looks really good. I don't think really much I would change anything about your 3D one. The reflectance of the material is really high, so you might want to adjust the material and find something that's not so grainy. Maybe that works better with the lights that you're using. And you can soften your shadows of that above light there. But other than that, this is a solid looking material. We might want to change the HDR later, which is like your environment. And so, because your environment right now is showing reflections, and the base environment on Cinema 4D is like this weird tree, like outdoor environment there. And so we might want to update this HDR later on, but we'll get to doing that at a different project and not right away here. But this looks really good too. Let's replay that. Nice. The easing's really good. The layout is really good of this. The hierarchy looks really nice. All you got to do is add motion blur into this and it'll look even better. And then same with the fade animation. I think that this one looks really nice too. Everything's animated on appropriately. I would leave it on screen for an extra second or two and then fade it off to go into the next scene. The other thing I would do here is maybe just drop down this type right here to bring it to this line, so it just gives a little bit of extra buffer room right there, and then I think that would be good. But other than that, and then maybe your motion, you just have to add your motion blur onto this one as well. But that looks very nice and smooth. This looks really cool. I like this as well. The colors that you picked really work well. Really good job as far as like the spacing and the alignment here. The only thing I would do is overall everything just needs the motion blur is what I'm seeing. And then your custom one is really cool too, because I love that you're like trying the bounce there. I like that you keep the bounce. The only thing that I would do is to change this, right, is to keep these on after the animation settles, to leave it on screen for a second before you start to fade it off, right? So let those animations, those bounce animations, come to like a stop, and then leave it on for like a couple seconds, enough for you to read everything out loud, be like AndreaCohen@gmail.com, this and this at wherever.com, and then fade off, right? So just really adding a little bit of timing into this and you're golden. This looks really cool though. I appreciate the bounce. And I think that next time you could just add a couple other elements to it now that you know more about animation, and I think you'll be good. But this looks really nice. Really good job overall, Andrea. Alexandria. I don't know if I keep saying Andrea, but I meant to say Alexandria. I'm literally looking at your name. Saying it. Really good job, though. Cool. Let's remove that one. Let's go to the next one. If I keep seeing things that I think you guys could benefit from, I'll let you know. I'm trying to find Maya's. There we go. Cool. All right. Let's look at Maya's. Ooh, cool. Frostberries. That's cute. Nice. Cool job actually mixing the text there. Nice timing as far as like how long you let it on there or left it on there. Ooh, cool. There we go. Good start. Good start overall here. You guys are actually getting everything too. Usually I have students who like don't get all of the stuff put on, which is funny because I have the thing that tells you everything you need to get on there. But, yeah. Anyways, do that. So the first thing that I would do, let's go ahead and break this one down here. The first thing that I would do with this is making sure that your text initially, when you're at the very beginning, is fully off screen. Because right now we get like chunks of that there on screen. So you want to make sure that when you're working within your composition here, that you're not zoomed in like this, that you're actually working, you just go down here and hit fit so that you know, or you can even zoom out a little bit so you can see like the bounds of your screen so that you know you're not like way up here, or that like if you do want to be off screen, that you're actually off screen and not like partially hanging into the picture like this is right there. So I would just bring this down. Ooh, why did that turn like that? Oh, I accidentally hit that. Fast previews. If that becomes an issue, just check to make sure that's not clicked. But making sure that you're not zoomed into your comp like this, so that in that you at least zoom out once, so you're like, oh, I didn't do that, because right here at the very beginning, when we're resting, we still have this bars over here on the side, and then your name up there and your tagline down there are showing. So just push those down a little bit, and I think that'd be really cool. But this is really cute. I like the little bounce, like the squash and stretch that you added onto there. I think that this could be beneficial, because what happens is the text right here crosses each other. And so what I would do is have one come down and animate first, and then the other come up and animate right after it. So they're offset. So all you got to do is just move your layers off to the side. And I think that would be cool. And then just making sure that they don't touch. So when they squash and stretch, making sure that that text doesn't actually overlap each other. And I think adding a little bit of, oops, didn't mean to do that. Adding a little bit of motion blur here would be beneficial. As far as like the actual animation goes itself, I like the easing that you have on that. I would ease this side here because this looks, that's a linear motion of the white bar coming in, and so you want that to be eased as well. All the animation, most of the animation should be easing, right? Really good first start on that though. This one here, same thing. It looks like you were zoomed in a little bit while you were working, so I would just make sure that you're not zoomed in and that this is your adjustment layer is brought all the way down and not like showing at the time. I'm gonna play this there. That looks really nice. I like that. I think that the mix of the text is actually good. You could just benefit a little bit here by giving a little extra space there. So just drop these two down a little bit and you'll be golden. And then it gives, you know, a little bit of a buffer room up there. But that's very cute. I love the little name Frostberries. Also, is this... Yeah, I was like, I can't see this, but I do see it very, very subtly. Just making sure that your shape is actually over all the way, because right now it's like hanging there, and so I can see the edge of it. So you want to make sure that the adjustment layer doesn't get moved over to the side a little bit, and that it's actually reaching from end to end. You can just scale the adjustment layer, and that'll fix that problem, because you're not animating the scale on this. You'll be good to go. I'm going to keep playing. Now the fade, you have a good start here. There's just a couple things that I would do to make this a little bit of a stronger composition, right? So the animation itself looks nice. You're adding the fade animation is appropriate on here. I would just work on the design overall a little bit. So instead of making this type smaller to fit these, I would make your letters bigger, because the letters are kind of small on here and you've got all of this negative space. I think that you could utilize making these a little bit bigger. You can do that in one of two ways, right? So you can come into each one of these letters and hit scale on here, and you can, let's hit S for scale, and you can scale them a little bit, right? But then you're going to get in this instance where this is a problem, which, then you have to adjust your spacing a little bit more. So you can do it that way, but what I would do is I would create a null object. Again, I've done that a couple times in the past. You just, if you go up to layer here, go to new and new, create a null object, and I bring that down, and then I select all of my letter layers here, and I grab this little pick whip guy and I drag him to my null. I can select this null and I can scale this. It becomes like a controller, right? Like an overall controller. I can scale it, and then I can let the animation play out, and then I can move it up to where I need it to be so that it's in line with everything right there. I don't know why I hit this preview thing there. And then maybe you just have to adjust it a little bit more. Like maybe the scale is obviously too big, so I only go to 115, right? Maybe I drop the scale down, then I have to bring the position down. But what's nice about this, right, is using this little controlling null, which I like that you can rename to controller, right? It allows you to make changes to this without affecting any keyframes or any animations. So I would definitely do that with yours. I would increase the size of this, and then maybe add a little bit of space in between these two sentences here so that, they're not right on top, one right on top of the other. And then make sure that when you scale these up, that you line these sentences to the like top there so that everything's kind of a nice like alignment at the top and the bottom. And that's all I would do for your fade scene. We'll continue playing here. Good timing on that, though. I really think the timing is really nice. This one you're going to need to have a little bit of work on, because what's happening is the animation is rocking back and forth. And I addressed this on Tuesday's class of what is happening. And I think a lot of students, this is where there becomes like an issue here, is that they do this first section and then they ease this section, and then they come over here and then they go to put the keyframes here, and then they ease this after. What you want to do is you want to block out your entire animation first. So you want to add this section and then add this section, making sure that the second set and third set of keyframes have the same value as each other. So like on the word best, I want to make sure that this keyframe and this keyframe have exactly the same values, right? So maybe I have to manually input those, but making sure that those have the same value first and then going in and easing will allow them not to kind of bounce back and forth, because that's where you're getting right now is a little bit of overshooting and a little bit of bouncing back and forth when you want these values of these keyframes that are like the second and the third keyframes to be exactly the same. And then the other thing I would do is I would take the italics off of here and just make it regular, and then maybe make these a lowercase, right? The O and D, maybe that can be lowercase. And then the other thing I would do on this one, if I turn my title action safe on, let's see, it's coming over here. It can line up to this one right here if you want it to, or this line right here. Either one will work, so this line or this line. But just making sure that they line up together, which it looks like they were pretty close. A little off, and I think that's just because of the rocking motion that's happening. But again, giving a little bit of breathing room in between these, and then maybe making sure this one's a larger font size, that you're sticking with the hierarchy of this. But very good start on that one. I know this one was the harder one to do. And this looks really cool because it creates some really neat shadows the way you have it like pulled up and out from the actual wall or your backdrop here. The only thing I would do on this is just dropping the shadow or that light that you have on top there, maybe taking that light and bringing it forward and back a little bit here, so it's like not coming from directly above, but maybe coming from above at an angle down, right? I hope that makes sense. And then just dropping the intensity of that light shadow, like the shadows in that light, so you're not getting such hard edges here. But this looks really cool. I'm super into this. The other thing I would do is with the animation of this one is just making sure your name doesn't get cut off right there. So maybe your camera motion isn't as far over. Maybe your camera motion kind of stops more like over here. You have to pull your camera back a little bit, but I think this looks really like a really good start, especially because your name has that little hanging foot from the letter. And I know putting that down is kind of tricky, right? And so having this up here, it looks really cool. It creates some really cool effects on your wall. I'm into it. Good start. All right. Let's do Nicole's. Anyone else in the chat who wants me to do theirs right now? I'm pretty sure I lost you guys, which is okay. All right. All right, Nicole, first thing, let's go ahead and hit play here. Ooh. Play here. Nice. Stops very nicely. Cool. Good start on this. Cool. Interesting, like, background that you had there, Nicole. Sweet. Okay, really good start here. Let's break this down. Okay, let me go to fit. The first thing that you want to do, I notice over here, right, because of the easing, when you adjust the easing, it creates all this stuff. First of all, motion blur, great job having that in there. Just move these words, just move your playhead over to the beginning and adjust the position, the starting position of the words, so that they're not showing on the composition already. You want it to kind of just be like a full solid background. And so when I play this, though, it looks really nice as far as like the alignment, the hierarchy of the text, the backdrop. But the thing is that the word better has the best easing. And so you want to swap around the easing from the word better and best. So just make sure that the best easing, like the most dramatic easing, is actually on the word best and not on the word better. So you'll just have to just adjust your curve. So this one's the best easing and this one's the better easing. The word fade looks really, like, this looks really nice. I think that the only thing I would do here is update the size of your text. Maybe drop it down a few points so that it's not so tight right up here. Because this is really nicely aligned at the bottom and at the top here, which I like. But yeah, just by dropping down the sizing of the text here, just by a few points, we'll just give that little buffer there in the center, and I think that'll look really nice because it'll allow us to differentiate the sentences. But this is very good. Good job on the animation there. This one's really cool. I love the colors that come out of it. The only thing I would do here is just make sure this is not bolded, because I'm looking at this first. And the reason being is because not only is it bold, like your name here, but it's also black text, so I'm wanting to read it first. So I would definitely make this just like a regular, not a bolded or a black text. And by black, I mean like the font weight, because I know sometimes the font weights are like, you got the bold font weight, but then you also have a black font weight, which is even wider. And so just making sure that this is like just the regular one that matches this one right here. And then maybe just a little bit of extra space right there. But this looks really nice overall. This is pretty cool. It's a really interesting background that you have going on here. What you can do is you can increase, because it's pixelated, right? Because I like this background. I think that it's really cool. But let's like adjust you can adjust like the pixel amount in your image. If I go to typography here, me open this up. Let me see. Let me bring this. So we've got my name. Let's say that this material on the ground was something else. Let's say that it's like, let's go to materials here. I'm going to type in standard so that we get something with some kind of like pattern that I can see on it. Like maybe this one, the carpet. I hate this one. It's crazy. It's great for a rug, but like, and there's an option under the material, I think under, let me find it. First of all, you can adjust your tiling, right? So if you drop your tiling down, let me shut my camera off real quick. Over here, like if you have your material on your object and then you select your material tag up here next to your object itself, you get this option to kind of change the tiling of the material, which allows you like 0.5, or let's increase it. So like 15 by 15 will make it smaller. It'll make a smaller tiling so I can see it a little bit more. So if you want to see it more, you can do that. There's also usually, if I double click here, let's see if there's an option when it comes to something with an image. Maybe it's in the, let's go into our Contd to get into our project settings here. Info, no, that's not what we want to do. We're not in simulations. Let's see here. It's not in that. Viewport. Texture preview size. There you go. So under viewport, so if you select your material up here in your material manager and you go to the viewport tab right here and then you go to preview size, that will allow you to update the preview in your viewport so you can see it a little bit. It's like more crisp and sharper and not pixelated inside of your viewport, but it also like texture preview size. So you can just change it to like the 2048 by 2048 is usually good. You might want to do that there. I'm not sure which material you used. Was it a maca? No. Let's delete that. Let me know what material you used and we'll see what we can mess around like with the settings to get it to be like a sharper image. I don't want to say that. But like a sharper looking image right there, and so that it's not so pixelated. And then also the only thing I would do here is to get rid of this hot, bright, like spot that's on the backdrop is I would adjust the intensity of the light and maybe spread out the like area of the light a little bit so it's not just so pointed at the text right there. And I think that that'll be very beneficial for your project here. And then right here, this one's cool, especially because this was what we kind of understood when we first started the project, right? But I think now you can add a little bit more into here to make it look a little more interesting. As far as like what we have here though, I would definitely make the text of your Instagram and your name in a thinner font weight. And then also you don't need to add this section to your Instagram handle, right? You can just put your at Noxie. You can put Instagram like colon and then your actual Instagram name here, and that way we'll know what it is. But usually if you have the at, people will know, okay, well, I'm looking for that specific thing. It's going to be mostly like an Instagram or like a TikTok or something like that, right? So you just have to have this, and you don't have to have like the entire link on here. And the other thing I would do is I would speed this animation up because it happens kind of slowly. And so I would make sure that I like the motion blur on it, but your name up here, I would speed everything up so it just kind of happens a little bit quicker and lands in. Maybe you sequence the timing of these animations as well, so your name comes in first and then your information comes in after. But really good solid start on this, Nicole. Great job. All right, let's see who's next. Let's see if we can find Sarah's. Granger. Right here. All right. Which I believe Sarah goes by Aaron. All right, let's play this. Good start on that. All right, we're just missing the background here. All right, a couple things missing, but we should be okay. Let's start looking at this one. So the first thing, obviously, you want to move, like I said before, you're going to want to move the text off screen in the beginning here. So all you got to do for that one is just bring your playhead to the beginning and select all of your text here, and then just move these ones over, making sure that not all of your keyframes are selected, just these, that you just select the layers themselves, and just making sure that this playhead is over your first set of keyframes there. And so that way when you move them over there, it's just moving them over all together. It's just like adjusting these keyframes instead of adding new keyframes, which you don't want to do. And that way it'll get these off screen here in the beginning. But this looks really neat. I like the color combination looks good. You added on also the motion blur, which looks really nice. I think there's like a doubling happening of this text though, because I can see like this like edge thing happening there. So just make sure you don't have two sets of text on there. I think what you're going for is like a, oops, no, let me grab there. I think what you're going for, it's like an outline on there, because I can almost see an outline happening. But as far as like the actual, the easing looks really nice on this. Yeah, really good job on the easing of the actual animations on there. Very good job. Let's play this. Cool. I think this is good as far as like the animation goes. I think that type can be faded by word, and the letter, you did a really good job there. You have a little bit of overshoot happening on the, is there, let me see, maybe that's just my eyes. No, just my eyes. You're good. This animation looks really smooth the way it pushes out here. The only thing that I would do on this is just adjust the sizing of your text here so that it lines up, because it lines up really well here. We want this bottom one to line up really well here as well. So all you got to do is just drop the size of these two sentences down, and then just realign them up there, and you'll be all set. But that looks really good. Really good job for start on that. And then let's see, type can be faded. and then just like give us an extra second to read that. So just extend the comp for like an extra second, second and a half, and I think you'll be good there. That looks really good. You think you did a really good job there. The color combination looks really good. The only thing I would add on this is the motion blur. So just making sure that you have it turned on and enabled right there. And then also turn on your layer, which would be your main comp. So like if I went here, right, let me turn that off there. Making sure I adjusted that. That's why it looks all weird. I forgot about the scaling of that. Making sure that the motion blur is added onto these ones right here before you render them out. But that looks good. I would even, you could even push this, your email address down a little bit more so it's closer to your Instagram and not so tight up here. But the spacing of this is all very even, which looks nice. So I'll leave that up to you. It looks cool. So this thing right here is an issue with the actual background. So you have an asset in here that's no longer linked, right? So you had maybe put this object into your composition and then maybe either move that object from where it was initially staying at, or you moved your project file. Either way, what happened is the linking that occurs between the actual asset that you import into your project is broken, right? So that link is no longer linked on there. So all you got to do to fix that is you come up to where you can come up to here, your search bar in your project panel, and you just type in missing, and it will bring up anything that's missing, and then you just right click on it and you go to replace footage, not reload footage, but replace footage, and then you just navigate back to wherever that file is, and it'll reset that link for you so that it's not showing up like this, right? Because I'd love to see what's going on behind there. And then I noticed that you said you're having issues with Cinema 4D. So we can work on that always if you want to later, right? But close, you've almost got it there. Let's see here. All right. Trenton Snacks. Let's go ahead and play this. Nice. Looks good. Cool colors. Reminds me of Mickey D's. Oh, yeah. Really good job overall, Trenton. Only a couple things that I'm noticing. Overall, it really looks like... That looks really nice. That is really, really nice. I'm super... This is what I mean by, like, these nice soft shadows. Like, these diffused looking shadows is kind of what I'm looking for from the rest of you. So if you guys just drop down the intensity of the shadows, you'll get something really nice and diffuse like that. I know Trenton obviously used Redshift renderer there, so I can tell. Um, let's go ahead and play this. So at the beginning, it's a black video, so you want to make sure that that your that your layers or your compositions are moved all the way to the beginning there, and then you can that so that this is like not just black right away, and then it shows up. But this is really nice. The easing looks really good on this. You've got the motion blur happening. I wouldn't change anything on that. The only thing I would change on this, right, because the animation actually looks really good itself, I would change the leading of the actual font here. Remember, the leading is, if I go into here and I go over here, this is your leading right there, the space in between the lines. And so I would just tighten up that leading a little bit. So whatever your typeface is, maybe add 20 to it. So if your typeface is 65, bring it to 85, and I think it should look okay. And then that will, because you're lined up down here, and then that will, then you just move the, you'll just have to readjust the position of these two sentences so that they're realigned with the word. But other than that, looks really good. And then same here, really nice animation. The only thing that you need to do is align the text to the T here. So just move this over. But that looks really good. This looks really nice. Very, very, very nice. I wouldn't change anything about this. I love the everything from the color of it to the speed of the camera. Overall, it's really solid. The only thing we're missing here is a custom, your custom, oh no, there it is. Cool. Sweet. Right at the very end. Nice. I would just let that stay on longer so that we can see it, and it doesn't like just drop away right away once the animation is all completed, right? Let it settle for a few seconds so that we can read it, and then you can end it. Added all the motion blur in here. That's really cool. I think the only thing that I would do on this, other than updating the timing, is making this not bold. So just changing the font weight on this, and I think you'll be good to go. But really, really good start on everything. Good job on this turn. I know that you said that you had a struggle on this, but it looks really good. You did a good job. All right, let's see here. Abby. All right, Abby's. Ooh, nice. Ooh, crazy looking. That's cool. These are cute. I love these little images that you guys draw for these. Cool. Okay, so we're just missing the one that you should have copied for the thing. Let me see here. So you're going to want to add that in there. But overall, really, really solid start on this. Let's go through and break this down here. So the first thing that I would do is I would update the word good is kind of bouncing back and forth. So you want to make sure that the value of the second and the third keyframe are exactly the same, like I've been saying. And the only other thing I would do is that, or well, there's a couple other things I would do here, is that this animation is a little bit slow. So you're going to want to move your keyframes over a little bit closer to each other, right? The closer they are, the faster the animation is. It speeds up your timing, and inside of After Effects on the timeline, the further the keyframes are apart, the longer the animation takes, right? So I would, from the time that it's settled here to the time that it zooms off screen, you'll just want to shorten up the keyframes between each other. And then you want to add some motion blur onto here so that it makes it appear a little bit faster. What's going on? JX Midnight. Wait, don't tell me. Do I have you written down? It's Janae. Janae's in the chat. Janae, did you turn in... If you turned in your Cool. I can go over your typography project after this one. So we can get it all graded and you can be here for your feedback on there. As far as this one looks, Abby, this looks nice. I think that let's go ahead. Again, I would just tighten up those keyframes a little bit so that it's a little bit of a faster motion, maybe by a few frames, not even by a lot. I think that you have a really good start on there. And then typography can be faded per word. This is still happening by letter. And so you want to make sure that this one's happening per word and not per letter, right? Because this one says it can be faded per letter. This one says it should be faded per word. So make sure that the animations are like that. The other thing that I would do is I would just make sure that the text, once it's all on screen here, is lined up to the top of the word fade and the bottom of the word fade. But this is a solid, solid beginning here. This is, okay, so this is cool, but I think that the super shiny reflective base doesn't, it doesn't show the lighting, right? And that's what we really want to see here is the lighting, because I can see that you have some lights happening back here. Because I don't believe that's in the HDR reflection. I think these are like lights that you have set up, but they're not showing because the material is so reflective. So all I would do here is change your material of the backdrop. So make it something more subtle and less crazy. You can make the text a super reflective text, because the text is what we want to be focusing on, and right now I'm focused on the backdrop, so it's like opposite. You just flip the focus and we want to flip it back. But this looks good. I would also slow the camera motion down, because the camera motion happens really fast, so you want to make sure that that you interpret your footage to 24 frames a second when you bring it into here, right? Like, so when I brought this in, I never interpreted it, and it's at 30 frames a second, and I want it to be at 24 frames a second. So you would just right click on this, go to interpret footage, go to main, and then change that to 24 and hit enter, and that should adjust that for you just fine. So make sure you do that, and then also to just slow that camera motion down and change just the material of the black backdrop. Maybe you flip the backdrop in the text material, but yeah. And then your custom, this one's very cute, right? I think that you could do in the beginning when we were talking about the stars, animating the stars inside of After Effects with using the expressions. I think you could benefit from that. So if you watch the beginning of or if you like scrub through and you see the object of the star when you're watching this video back, and you can just watch that section of the lesson, and I think that would be really cool to add some animations to these little guys as well, because they're so cute, and you did a good job illustrating that. And then the only other thing I would do here, let's see, that's cool. I would have your name just animate on quicker. So just kind of everything overall is a little slow. We just need to speed it up a little bit. And I think you'll be golden as far as that goes. And then I would maybe just give a little bit more room here. You don't even have to, you could just write Behance. So what I would do for these things, right, is I would just do like Instagram and stuff like that in your handles. I wouldn't write www. I would do it like this. Let's see, 50. Let's change the size. I would just put Behance, colon, or even like a space. You could do this and then at blah, 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 blah. Or you could do a colon, right? And then your name there, so that people can look it up, but it's also not a like an HTTP, because no one can click on that, right? You're gonna want to, you'd be surprised what people want to try and do when they're watching a video. Don't realize that they're not interactive. So I would just update that there. And I think that will give a little bit more room to this area here, which I think would be beneficial. But really good start on this, Abby. All right, let's go to Janae's. Eric, what's up? Yeah, no worries, Eric. Go ahead and take off. You can leave whenever you need to and rewatch this if you want to later. Did you want me to go over yours real quick? That's okay. I'm going to go over Janae's real quick first. Where did I see yours, Janae? There it is. Okay, cool. Ooh, love the pink. Ooh, love the blue. Cute colors together. Barbie. Reminds me of Barbie, which I thought was a great movie, by the way. I liked it. Very good first. That was my computer, not your thing. It just does that. I like this text a lot, actually. Do you remember what font face you used for this, Janae? Because this, I love this. Like this kind of curved edge that's on there, on that A. Very, very, like, modern looking. Just, I love that, like, soft edge that they have on that A. That looks cool. Let me continue playing this for you. Sorry. I got distracted on the S and the T, too. I like this font. Oh, so cool. So cute. I love that. Lotto. It was the Lotto font. I might have to use that one next time. Cool font. Good choice. So overall, everything looks really good. Not a lot to fix that I would say. I mean, there are some fixes on each one of them, but not going to be a ton of it. First of all, here I can just barely see this, so you're going to want to move the keyframe of the first, or the position of the word best here, because that's the only one where I can see it, like this ghosting image happening. So just nudge that over, make sure you're over top of the first keyframe on your playhead, and you'll be okay. As far as like the actual animation though goes, it looks great. Everything's really aligned well. The easing looks really good. You've got the motion blur on there. It's perfecto. The word fade looks really nice. You have the offsetting of the letters happening here. And you also have it all aligned up here, which is nice. Let me see. Perfect. The animation here is really good. The only thing I would do is I would leave this on screen a little bit longer, like maybe an extra second or two. So we have a second to read that, because right away it starts to fade into the next sequence. And then this fading that happens, what you will want to do is you will want to offset the fading there. So when the one fades out and this one goes to fade in, we can do this, right? Because it's like ghosting image that we're getting. First of all, let me make this. Oops, didn't mean to make it smaller. Let's make it bigger. Why? There we go. Okay. If I zoom into my timeline here, so I'm nice and tweaked like a toiga right there. And I have the opacity of the fade happening there. And I know this happens on mine. I didn't catch it before. I should have caught it, but now that I have it, I'm going to animate the opacity of this layer below as well. So it's going to have the opposite animation, right? So it's going to start at 0 and end at 100 because we're fading this one on. So I'm just going to keyframe the 100. I drag that keyframe over here so they line up, and then I'm just going to keyframe right at the beginning at 0. And so what's going to happen, that is what we're getting. Let's see here. What would I do instead? Offset these. The reason this is happening is because we have a background in both of them. If your background's the same color, which I think it is, you can get around this like black fading thing by doing the following, right? You can go into your contact information. You can grab that or whatever scene you're in, right? You can Control X to remove it from this composition. Go to your main comp and put it in your main comp at the bottom, right? So your background's always there for all of them. And drag this down here to the bottom. Dragging it down to the bottom. Let's change the color of the layer so we can actually see it, right? And then I would just extend this all the way here. And now what's going to happen is, because when the fade is when it's called a crossfade, and when the fade's crossing on the one to the other, it's like fading out the backgrounds as well, which you don't want, right? So I would probably do this, and then I would just move this over a little bit so that one fades on, and all you have to do is offset your layers. So make sure you can bring that. You can still have it you can still have that layer in here, right? If you didn't want to cut that layer out, you can just leave that layer in here, but just copy and paste it into the bottom of your main layer, so that when this does fade out, it doesn't fade out to black, because essentially, like, there's no pixel information there, and so it's like trying to fade out to nothing. And this just keeps that consistent background in there, even though these are fading off. And then if you just offset this layer here, it'll get rid of like that ghosting effect that you have there, and I think that would look strong, because this looks really nice. And so when it mixes like this, it's a little bit just kind of, I know I didn't do that, so I'm not going to blame you. That was a me thing. Let's go ahead and play that though. But that animation looks really nice. I would just, again, extend the length of this one here. And then also at the top, we can just see this little black bar here. So you're going to want to make sure that you just take the background layer and tap it up. Or if your background layer is at the bottom here in your main one, you should be able to fix that. If not, just move this up or just scale it, and I think you'll be okay. And then extend the length of this one so we can have a second to read it. This is really cute. I like this. The only thing is that we don't have any information of like lighting happening here. We don't have any shadows or anything. Do you have lights in your scene? If you have lights in your scene, you have to turn the shadows on into your lights. So if I did that, Cinema 4D, if I just open it up real quick, because right now it's just like a solid gradient in the background, and there's no information on that. The other thing, did you render this with the physical render or the standard one? So a couple things here. Okay, so let's see. In this way, you'll be able to troubleshoot it. In your project, on your lights, you'll want to select your lights. And if you're using standard lights, that's okay. Let me shut my camera off so you can see. And I will just select my light layers up here, right? So grab that one. And if you go under, so the standard, let's pick a standard light too so you guys can see. Shift C. Let's pick a light. A standard scene light. Not a redshift one. Let's just use like a standard. Is that really like a standard target light? I'll just drag that into my sequence here. Double click it and add it in. You did the standard one? Okay, cool. So you're going to grab your standard light up here. You can grab that light. And under your... Oops, I didn't mean to hit space there. There's a section that says shadow, and you're going to want to change that to shadow maps soft, specifically this one, and that will turn the shadows on in your lights, because you actually have to turn that on in your lights. The computer doesn't know that you want that on right away. There's another option here, right, that you can update your shadows in, where you can go and turn your shadows on in this tab up here. So if you want to do that, you can do it that way. And you'll want to make sure that you turn that on for every light that you have in your scene. The other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that when you're rendering, if you're rendering from the standard renderer, it's going to look like that right now because I have a bunch of redshift crap in here. Hold on, let me just delete that light real quick, even though this isn't going to do much difference as far as my viewport. Under the standard renderer, I think that if you go into, where is it? Under options, you'll want to make sure that shadows are checked on. Same with if you're using the viewport renderer, right? You want to go to the viewport render settings. So these ones right here. You're going to click on filter. Actually, you don't even have to click on filter for that. You just have to make sure that your shadows are turned on right here. So I would just check those few things and then turn your shadows on. Make sure they're on in your lights and make sure they're on in your render. And then you should be good to go as far as having some shadows on here, because it's nice and lit up. But I'm not seeing like the lighting information on there. And then this is just awfully adorable. I'm super into this. I think this is really cute. I like the animation that you have happening, like this kind of floating thing that you have happening. I wouldn't do it to your text. I would just do it to your object down here. Because your text, I want that to stay still so that we have like time to read it. So maybe it comes in, it does a little bit of a bounce, and then it settles to the animation. And then while it's like settled on here, I would move that up. Oh, that's good to know. Thank you. Yeah, not a problem, of course. Right here, I would make this happen and settle a little bit quicker. So maybe it just comes down, bounces up into place, and then settles. So speed that up a little bit. And then have this just kind of animating the way it is. This is just so pretty. I just love the style of this. Really think it's a beautiful looking little teacup drawing with the stars there. You could even just, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but you could kind of use, like, create some kind of like clouds that go, maybe that you create inside of Procreate or something, that come in here and are over on this side. So maybe it darkens this area up, and so that it brings in focus to all of this area right here. That's really cute. So maybe you could figure out something to put there, and then that will fill in this negative space and make it look really nice. But this is really cute. I love this a lot. And I think the animation is really, really good. I like that you have the separated stars from the teacup. Like your little stars are separate. You could even put these on separate little layers themselves and then offset those animations so they're all moving. They're like have the same motion, but they're just, the timing is a little bit different on there. And I think that would be really strong. But really good job on this. Very, very strong. Custom one. I like it a lot. All right. Okay, so we're going to go to David's next. Let me... We already did that one. David's up next. Let's go ahead and play this. Ooh, neat. Cool. That one's cool. All right, cool, David. So yeah, I see you were having issues with your Cinema 4D one. So if you want to, um, I know you said you were having rendering issues, so I might actually have that. Let's see if we can get that open. And we'll see what's going on. As far as the animations go inside of After Effects, it's a good start. I think there's a few things that we need to work on. There's a lot of like dead space here in the beginning, which you need to cut out. So I would cut out the first, like right before the text comes in, I would just remove all that dead space in the beginning. This looks good. You just need to separate the text a little bit more to give a little bit space in there. And then I would make this one maybe even smaller as far as typeface size goes in order to bring a little bit more to the hierarchy. That's not 100% what you need to do. I mean, I'll leave that up to you, but I think that once you separate these, it might look a little bit better there because the text looks very similar in size to the word better, the word good text. So I think when you separate it, it'll actually fix that visual similarity. The other thing I would do is make sure that these, let's see, are they all aligned? Very close, but not quite. So just make sure that everything's aligned. And then the animation itself, when we play it, the easing's pretty good. We need to add some motion. Oh, you got the motion blur on there. Never mind. So I would just, yeah, update the height of these and make sure they're not so on top of each other and you'll be good. The word fade looks good. I would just, this is animating on appropriately as well. I would tighten up the spacing between the word A, D, and E. So maybe you want to move this D over a little bit more. I think that would kind of, fill in this negative space. The other thing I would do is I would make this text smaller so that it's not so tight up on each other right there, and then realign them so that they're aligned like this, because I know that you were probably messing around with the size in order to get them to align. Also, this lotto text that I really like into that text. But yeah, I think that the color combinations of everything looks really solid. I think that if you just change the size of these and then realign them to the word, that you'll be good there. But the animations look good and solid on this. Let's get out of there. Keep playing. Nice. That looks good. Just add that motion blur into there. I think that's... Yeah, just a motion blur is all you need. And then maybe give a little bit of breathing room in between the lines here. But nothing's overlapping. I love that none of you guys have done overlapping text really, which is really nice because usually I have like a lot of the class doing that. This is really cool, by the way. I really like this. I think that you need to just give this a little bit more time in between before it animates off screen. Like give it a second, like an extra 2 seconds. And then that way we'll be able to read this a little bit more, and also update the on both of your things, update so it's not like in HTTP like address, like it's not like a website address. You can just have Behance on there and do that way. Very solid start on this though. And then let me pull over you were having rendering issues. So let's bring this up here. I have your file, which looks cool. If I hit Control R, let's see what happens here. It's probably because we're using Redshift stuff, which probably could be an issue with it. So if you want to update these to standard lights, you can do that. Let's see what kind of materials that you're using on here. These are pretty standard looking materials. Let's see what's on your text. On the text, you don't have a material on the text. So that's a big thing. And there's no material on your backdrop. All right, so you just have lights in the scene. So let's not do that. Let's not look through the camera. let's kind of go through here and see where the issues might be. Let's do this in a regular rendering engine so that you don't come into these issues, because these two materials that you have picked are standard materials, and you have a standard camera here as well, which is good. Let's increase the size of the backdrop. So let's increase the extension. Let me drop my camera off so you guys can see. So I just increased the extension down here, and that's going to increase or decrease the size of the front of the actual backdrop here. So I obviously increased that a lot more so that we can see. Let's look through your camera again. Let's play your camera animation, because I think you have some keyframes there. Nice. I think it's a little fast, so you could slow the motion down so maybe it doesn't happen as long, right? Like maybe we're only going part of the way and not all that way. Or you can increase the amount of keyframes on here and extend that last keyframe further down the line so it's a smoother, slower animation. The other thing I would do, because we're through the camera, I can see the edges here, I would increase the width here so that we can't see that, and then the height because I can see it in the top corner there. And then let's throw this granite material onto your backdrop, and then let's throw this frosted kind of material onto your object itself. And let's just hit Control R to do a quick render. And it looks like we're, oh, because I accidentally put this also on your, I want to grab this frost and put it on my text here. Let's see what happens when we do a quick render. All right, we're having some issues with the materials. That's okay. Let's maybe take this black granite. Let's take the frosted glass off of this and then put the granite, delete this tag. We'll put the granite onto your text because I think the granite would look better on the text itself. And then let's find a different material for your backdrop. Maybe just like a soft plaster, and then we'll just use the standard one, not the redshift, so not these ones, but this one right here. And I'm going to drop that onto your backdrop here. And what happened? I think it's because your camera is a standard one. Let's bring this into here. We don't have any lights, so we're going to also want to add some lights. I wonder what's going on with your material here. Is there something happening on the backdrop? UV mode fill. Let's see. Let's see what you're working in. You're in the redshift render. Let's change this to standard. There we go. Now we can see it. So we had to change your rendering type up here because we're not going to do it in the redshift for you. If you're having troubles rendering, we're going to do it in like a standard renderer. And so making sure that you have standard materials, which these are, is good. And now if I hit Control R, it should show up on here. Now the next thing that we should do is update maybe the plaster color. So if you want to update the color here, you can just click here under plaster color, or off to the side here, which you can change the color. Let's do like something a little bit more, I don't know. Let's just find a different color. Maybe this nice soft like egg looking blue. You can drop the green amount on here. So if you don't want it as strong, you can drop that down. We can drop down the global size, which will drop down the size of the plaster as well. Or I think, let me Control Z. It actually makes it a little bit more rough if you drop the global size down. Let's just look, let's bring up our render preview option here. And we can update this granite. Maybe the granite might not be the best option, but let's throw some lights in here, right? So you want some standard lighting, and you had redshift lighting in there. So I'm going to hit Shift C, and I'm just going to type in light, and then maybe standard. Nope, I don't even have to type that. I can just type light, and if it has ST next to it, standard. Don't use the ones with the little red there. And then I'm going to use like an actual spotlight right here. So the standard spotlight, I'm going to double click on this. Or am I? Let's see, the standard spotlight. Where'd you go? Right down here. And I'm going to move that light up. I'm going to jump out of your camera view. And I'm going to move back. And then obviously place these into the appropriate position. And angle it down. Hit R for rotation. Bring that down. Maybe bring that in a little bit more. So that we can see it. Maybe go into our quadrant view here. So that we can see what is happening more. It's kind of pointed down. It's a little too far down. I'm going to zoom out, push up here. Your text is right there. Maybe I'm going to extend this right there, zoom in a little bit more so it's a little closer. Go back to this view here. Probably want to rotate it, add another one in, right? But like when we go into your camera view now, we should have more of a, you're going to have some lights and stuff in your scene. Yeah, and then you'll obviously want to put the lights onto your object here. So you'll want to just update that. But I think that you're in the right spot. I think that you were just mixing redshift materials with lighting, like standard materials with redshift lighting. So just making sure that you're working all in standard stuff. Standard light, standard materials, standard renderer, and I think you'll be okay to go on that. But very good start on everything here. All right. I think we have time for one more for Lola. Okay. Cool. All right, the first thing that I notice, if you have bars up here, you will need to adjust your background and make sure that you're working not in a zoomed view. The other thing here is that your frame rate is very, very small. In fact, you guys want to make sure that your frame rates are all at 24 frames a second, not 30, not 15, not 29, right? You want them all at 24 frames a second. So when I play this, it's going to look really kind of clunky, likely, because of that. So just keeping that in mind, you're going to need to change that. All right, good start on there. And it's very small, so we need to make sure that's 1920 by 1080. Ooh, cool. I'm into this like really cool looking end card. I'd love to see it like a higher resolution. So make sure that your compositions are 1920 1080, and then you're working in the 24 frames a second, and you can re-render this out. The good, better, best, the text is a little tight on top of each other, but because your hierarchy is so good as far as font weight and font size, I don't think that's a big deal here. Everything looks like it lines up like normal. On the side, it's a little grainy just because of the size of the video. The other thing I would do here, it looks like the animations are good. Your curves are good. You need to add some motion blur onto this. And I think that would be beneficial. The way that the word fade moves over, that looks really good. The animation looks really good. It's just kind of hard to read. So, and you could even scale these up and make sure there's a little less room in between here. So making the FADE larger, and then you'll just have to adjust your text to make sure everything's lined up on the top and the bottom. But the animation itself looks really nice. And then just extend the end again so we can see this and read it a little bit more. So give it an extra like second and a half at the end of it. And I think that'd be solid. All right, that looks really cool. I like that. I love the colors of this. Really good spacing on that. Just add the motion blur, and I think you'll be set. This looks really cool, too. I'm super into it. It reminds me of the Mario, it reminds me of, like, the Mario, what is it? Like, the castle scenes. I feel like it should be, like, dead it. But it's very dark. And I would like to see it lit up more. So I would just add another light maybe on the top, making sure you drop the intensity of the next two lights, and then maybe add an additional light. So add one from the top pointing down, and then add one like at the back up, kind of angled upwards. So if your name were right in front of you, you want the lights kind of back and up and angled down, kind of like how you would take a selfie, so that it directs that light on this. And I think that would be really cool, and it would light this up a lot more, because I think this looks really nice. I can see it more actually on my other screen if I drag this over here. I can see it a little bit more there. My screen here is very contrasted, although in the live stream it looks normal. But on my screen itself, it looks super contrasty. But I still think you could benefit from adding some more lights, even though the one over here looks a little brighter. I think that adding those lights will make that a stronger looking composition, but I really am into the floor that you used, or like the ground tiles. This is really cool. I'm super into this. I think that the animations are nice and smooth. I think a couple of them are... Let's look at the... Nice. You have good easing on the circles and the stripes there going across. I think this is really cool. And it's up on screen long enough, which I would just offset the... I guess not. That looks really neat. I think you did a really good job on this. The type. Yeah, this is what I wanted you guys to do with like the Instagram thing, which is cool. There's like the little text thing that goes after that. That's okay. I think everything's offset on this really nicely. I really wouldn't make any changes to your one other than the frame rate, because I think it looks really nice. Very good work on that one. Really cool stuff that you have here. I'm into it, Lola. Good job. Really good job. Good start. Just a few adjustments there, and I think you'll be all set to go. All right, you guys, I'm going to end class here. I know we didn't get to all of them. What I plan to do is, I think I have like 10 more to go through. I'll probably send you guys separate. This is not all of them. These are, some of them are duplicated, I think. And so I'm going to go through these and give you guys feedback on the rest of them later, probably this weekend. So I will absolutely have them graded, and then I'm also probably going to grade the other ones as well, your real and surreal projects, and give you guys feedback directly on those, and send you guys like either a video message or voice message attached to your project with that. Let's see here, because there's so many of you guys, I just can't get through everyone's in class. there's just so many. And then we're going to start this Principles of Motion Design on Tuesday's class. So today was all review. It gives you this weekend to kind of catch up on this motion design, the Principles of Motion Design. I'm going to get your, so work on this one, get this one in. I'm going to get this one started grading, and I'm going to finish grading the rest of this typography one for you guys on the weekend. And I think you'll be good. Jasmine, remind me tomorrow to send me a message. But we'll get your Cinema 4D thing worked out, okay? All right, guys. Other than that, have a good weekend. Enjoy your time doing whatever. Logan, adios, sir. Have a good one. I will talk to you guys on Tuesday's class. All right.